Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Having been in the Christchurch earthquake in 2011, I've got to say the simulation is nowhere near as dramatic as the real thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now get underway, and I'll declare the meeting open with the affirmation. Tēnā tātou katoa, we seek wisdom, understanding, insights into the views and circumstances of others, strength to seek what we believe in, humility to accept the combined decisions of others, patience, good humour at all times, tolerance and courtesy while working in the best interests of our community. We come to apologies. I have received apologies from Councillor Kathy Casey on leave of absence, Councillor Penny Hulse for absence, and Councillor Greg Sayers on absence on council business. Are there any other apologies? If not, I move that we accept the apologies from the three councillors and Councillor Bartley for lateness.
Second.
Been seconded by Councillor Collins. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. Carried. Declaration of interest. Are there any councillors that have an interest that they need to disclose for any agenda item today?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
For White and Power and Gulf Ward.
Thank you, Councillor Lee.
Well, Your Worship,
Councillor Fletcher.
it's my personal view that I have a conflict if I enter into the debate on the recommendations of the Joint Governing Body Working Party, because I do believe we all have conflict to be discussing and debating our own boundaries. I have registered this before, but I will not be participating in the discussion because I think it's inappropriate. I think it should be done at arm's length. So I'm just being consistent with my view on this.
Thank you. It's of course up to individual councillors to make an assessment of their interests. In this regard, I guess all of us have the interest, well, all of the councillors, ward councillors have an interest because it's relating to the boundaries of the ward council. I don't know, Marguerite, if you want to just explain how the rules would appropriately apply in this case for discussion of item number 8.
Sorry, excuse me, I should do the same then, Your Worship, because obviously the Ōrākei ward is significantly affected by the discussions today.
We have a difficulty, of course, if the proposed boundary changes were wider, there would be nobody left to vote on whether these were the representations we were making to the Local Government Commission. So I'm just going to ask, if I may, first of all, for Marguerite to explain how the conflict of interest rule would work in the instance of item number 8 on the agenda, the review of representation arrangements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I should start by saying that this is a question that the members of the Joint Working Party did ask us at the beginning. And the answer that we gave is that if you keep an open mind and look at the merits of the proposals, and you know, by legislation, it is the council that makes those decisions. So while it feels uncomfortable, we are following the legislation and asking you to make those decisions. If you feel more comfortable abstaining on in the debate around your ward, I mean, that's absolutely your choice. My advice to all of you would be to keep an open mind in considering all the different changes that are there, and not make decisions that would that affect you personally.
Your Worship, in clarification, it's not just about my ward. I just feel that this is perhaps something that advocacy should be brought to central government on, because it is impossible to divorce yourself completely from whether it might be one councillor you may like over another, or it's human nature that you will have a view on this, and I feel distinctly uncomfortable. It's not about Albert Eden Roskill, but just the whole process. And I appreciate that democracy services have to work within the context of what is required. However, I'm registering my displeasure and my discomfort and believe it's something that at some future point when the government of the day may wish to come and spend time with councillors and discuss issues, that we should raise with them.
Thank you. I think if I interpret what Margarita's said, everybody will have a view. The question is whether you have closed off your mind to other points of view that might lead to wanting to make a declaration that there may be a conflict. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I just make a very brief explanation? I declared an interest because I declared an interest, and I believe quite properly, in the report that I submitted to the council, which was included in the meeting, the agenda for the meeting at which we last discussed the representation review. I do not believe at all that I have a conflict of interest. I won't go into too much political details. Arguably, it's the opposite. But I do have an interest, and it's important that when people do have a personal interest, they're declared. It's somewhat different from a conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Councillor. If there's no other comment on it, the situation is such that if you feel that you have an interest that's incompatible with your voting on the item, then that is up to you to make that judgment. I accept, Councillor Fletcher, that there's a lot of grey area around this. There's not a perfect solution, but the best interpretation I've heard is, yes, of course you'll have a view, but the question is around whether you have an openness of mind to listen to the arguments prevailing around it. At the end of the day, we all will cast a vote, or all of us who intend to vote will cast a vote on what we think the best outcome is. So it's not perfect, but I think that's about as good a clarification as we're going to get on it. Okay, I'll move on. There are no petitions. There is no public input or local board input today within those sectors. I know that there are local boards represented here that will wish to speak to item number 8. I'm aware of no extraordinary item for the agenda. Therefore, we come to the review of representation arrangements, item number 8, and there are 2 local boards that